Module Overview. In the realm of visual storytelling, not everything can be equally important. One of the essential principles that separate amateur work from professional, compelling artistry is the control of emphasis and the ability to guide the viewer's eye and determine what they see first, next, and last. This module, therefore, focuses on the strategic design and placement of focal points, the effective use of contrast, dominance, visual hierarchy, and a deep understanding of emphasis techniques that define the narrative and emotional core of every composition. A strong focal point serves as a visual anchor. It is where attention naturally settles and where the eye pauses to gather meaning. However, if multiple elements compete for attention without clarity or priority, compositions become confusing, chaotic, and lack communicative strength. This module will equip you with advanced compositional tools to manipulate viewer perception intentionally, creating work that resonates, narrates, and captivates. Learning outcomes. By the end of this module, you will be able to define and identify focal points in existing artworks, apply emphasis techniques using contrast, placement, isolation, and convergence, understand and implement visual hierarchy across complex compositions, differentiate between primary, secondary, and tertiary points of interest, evaluate and critique focal point effectiveness in their own and others' artworks, integrate focal points with principles of movement, rhythm, and balance. What is a focal point? A focal point is the most emphasized element in a composition. It's the first visual destination for the viewer and often holds the emotional, symbolic, or narrative heart of the piece. Focal points are not random, they are engineered through contrast, context, and composition. Characteristics of a strong focal point: dominates without overwhelming the entire piece, directs the eye using visual cues, supports the story, emotion, or function of the artwork. Often aligned with principles of balance, unity, and rhythm. Techniques for creating emphasis and focal points. A. Contrast. Difference in color, e.g. red dot on a gray field. Light versus dark, chiaroscuro techniques. Texture, shape, saturation, or line direction. B. Placement. Central placement for symmetry. Rule of thirds, golden ratio points. Isolation from visual clutter. C. Convergence. Use of implied lines, e.g. pointing fingers, roads, gazes. Perspective lines directing toward the subject. D. Unusual detail or anomaly. Breaking the pattern to draw attention, e.g. one unique face in a crowd. Symbolic object contrasting the environment. E. Framing devices. Natural or artificial frames. Windows, arches, tree branches. Shadows or spotlights highlighting areas. Supporting visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy refers to the order in which elements are noticed based on their visual weight and positioning. Levels of hierarchy: primary focal point, main subject or action. Secondary focal points, supporting details that enrich the narrative. Tertiary details, background elements that maintain context. Hierarchy helps avoid overcrowded focal points and ensures a clear path of movement. Relation to other compositional principles. Balance. A dominant focal point must be counterbalanced to avoid a heavy side. Rhythm and movement. The eye travels rhythmically to arrive at the focal point. Unity and variety. Emphasis should harmonize with the entire piece. Case studies of masterworks. A. The Calling of St. Matthew by Caravaggio. Focal points created through light, contrast, and pointing gesture. The beam of divine light and hand gestures direct attention. B. Liberty Leading the People by Eugène Delacroix. Liberty is emphasized using placement, gesture, and vertical dominance. Secondary focal points: fallen figures, flags, background fighters. C. American Gothic by Grant Wood. Focal point is the couple, emphasized through central placement and contrast with background. Tools, pitchfork, and clothing add secondary focal interest. Common mistakes in focal point creation. Multiple focal points with equal emphasis leads to visual confusion, lack of contrast. Everything blends together. Focal point in a dull, inactive area reduces impact. Distracting background elements competes for attention. No visual journey. Viewer's eye doesn't move through the composition. Exercises for mastery. Create a triptych, Three-part artwork, where each panel has a different focal point using a unique emphasis technique. Redraw a famous artwork, replacing the original focal point with a new one. Analyze magazine covers and posters for hierarchy and focal point placement. Design a single object still life using background contrast as the sole emphasis method. Create a composition with 3 tiers of hierarchy: main, secondary, tertiary. Recommended texts and tools: Mastering Composition by Ian Roberts, The Art of Composition by Michael Jacobs. Visual tools: focal point overlay grids, saturation mapping apps.